Hey everyone, Wanderbot here, and welcome back to Runers. So, we're going to be playing as a Shade's Wraith, Curse of the Shade, Paladin. So, every once in a while we'll shoot out a random bullet in a random direction. It does 2 damage plus 0.25 damage per floor discovered, so it's never going to get that strong, but especially by like level 6, well, no, it's never going to do that much damage. It's kind of a shame. Anyway, I'm also going to go with Chaos Bolt just because we're going to be firing off random projectiles. And Paladin just kind of reflects stuff back at enemies. I'm not entirely sure how effective that's going to be, but I'm interested to seeing how it turns out. Now, I've been thinking, oh, that's actually a lot more substantial than I thought it was. Well, jeez. Okay, so we pretty much are already firing off a smorgasbord of shots, which is very attractive, at least for a Chaos Bolty type run. Because I'm trying to think of what spells would go well here, and like, yes, I could go with the ever effective double lightning, that kind of business, you know, just the random shots in every direction kind of business. And I mean, eventually the Shade's ability is going to stop being nearly as effective as it is, but as it stands now, this is already pretty substantial. We get surrounded by anything, we're going to more or less just kind of chew through them, which is nice. Yeah, I think as far as today's build goes, I'm going to leave it very open-ended if I can manage to do so. I'd prefer to have... I'd really prefer the next, you know, couple episodes to be completely just, you know, whatever comes at me. So if we end up getting an insane amount of entropy runes, I'll probably do double prismatic devil, you know, that kind of business. And if I don't, it's not the end of the world. Main goal, unless I get up to, you know, X floor generally being like in the 6s, my main goal is generally to just find as many triples as possible, but that should be obvious. We've got... I'd say we're getting close to half of all of the spells discovered, but I think that is a gross exaggeration. We're probably a lot farther off than that, but at the same time, I have a lot of confidence that we'll get there. It's just going to be very time-consuming. Now, some of you asked what was that thing that dropped on the previous run that I was bemoaning, you know, the fact that I didn't get. I believe it's called like a master rune or an elemental rune or something like that. They're incredibly rare. I've heard about them on the Steam forums, and I'd never heard of them before. I was just like, wait, people are talking about this just having a terrible drop rate? What are they talking about? I'd never seen one before, but just as, you know, I died, I realized, oh wait, there's one on the ground. And then, well, you guys all saw what happened, unless you missed the episode, at which point, obviously, I died. Much to my general chagrin, because I would have loved to pick that up. Now, we already have a really nonsense spell available to us, and I'm not going to pass up using it just for the sake of why not. It's probably nowhere close to even a remotely good spell for what we're doing right now, but I'm okay with it. I think my one thing with Buster Bang is I really wish it did AoE damage. As far as I can tell, it doesn't. But then again, I haven't been paying a whole heck of a lot of attention. Either it does AoE damage, or either it doesn't do AoE damage, or it... Wow. Oh, right, it's on autocast. I was wondering, it's like, why did that even fire off? Yeah, either it doesn't do AoE damage, or just the AoE is much smaller than the actual visual effect. It is a cool spell, though. It's got quite the knockback, so what I'm probably going to do is actually swap it off to one of the bumpers so I don't randomly use it while I'm running around, because that could either potentially screw me over, or end up being kind of completely meaningless. Well, oh, it's left bumper to fire off. Well, it's kind of hoping to not use it on the skeleton, but in the end, really doesn't matter that much. Let's see if I can squash some skeletons before I get smacked around myself. Well, that was ultimately useless. And all sorts of skeletons, all sorts of rats. It's no big deal, though. Let's see if I can hit him. At the very least, Buster Bang does have such a huge hitbox that pretty much anytime you aim it in the direction of an enemy, it's going to hit, which is nice. Now, what we can do, and what I'm going to do, just for the sake of why not, is plop fire runes into it, because every time you put one in, it boosts up the damage by 4 points. So, assuming that you hit with it, whatever you... Oh, freaking rat. Whatever you hit with it is going to take an insane amount of damage. So, ideally what I'd like to do is... We're not going to be able to get double Buster Bang. Not unless we get an absurd amount of fire runes, which I find highly unlikely. I missed. And now I'm on fire. Thank you very much. Anyway, chances are not going to get a second Buster Bang. I'd like to, and it'd be funny, but... No, we're not going to get that amount of fire runes. It's just totally improbable. Wow, that actually only did like half-ish, maybe a third. That's a little bit surprising. I was expecting Buster Bang to just kind of be an instant death, but I guess it only does, what, 20 damage? Oh, this is... I was going to say pitiful, but when it comes down to it, that actually gives us a triple. Very early on, which is surprising. I usually expect triples to be, well... rare. Anyway, so... Uh-oh. Well, let's just plop ourselves in here and become an eternal bastion of doing damage to enemies. It didn't really work like that, but it was funny at the time. Sort of. So okay, so it does do splash damage. It's just limited. Okay. Class ability, knock back around you. That's actually pretty counter-productive. Wow, these are not exactly the best selection. Okay, so what we're going to do is Earth, Entropy, Light. Have I ever made that one before? Nope, haven't. What's it do? Geocurse. Instantly causes enemies to be afflicted with a random status ailment. The concern is it's a target spell. I hate it when it's a target spell. Okay, well, let's just keep boosting up the Buster Bang. And, okay, we at least have, like, 2 more floors, give or take. And, 2 more floors. No, 2 more rooms, give or take. And, okay, so if you can hit with it, it looks like it's a semi-solid spell. It's got a longish cooldown, too. And thus far, we're not getting a whole lot of cooldown reduction. And realistically, I don't think I want this build to be about cooldown reduction. I just like the idea of getting Buster Bang as, like, my single, like, uber nuke type spell. Because it's pretty freaking powerful. Let's see if I can... Nope, totally whiffed it. Oh, well. Okay, let's just keep going along. I'm definitely going to get rid of that ground target thing, because it's not too hard to, like, kind of aim at a zone on the ground, but it does end up being more so just a visual distraction to what's going on, which is more of a problem to me, because any level of distraction apart from myself, the enemies, and whatever the enemies are shooting at me, anything more than that actually ends up being extremely disastrous to a run, or at least, you know, my limited attentions. So, let's see. We got a couple of these guys, totally whiffed it. See if I can slow them down. I slowed one of them down. The Burrower. Well, that was great. The problem is, usually when I'm aiming and shooting, I'm like aiming specifically at maximum range, so as to kind of maximize everything, because there's a little bit of strain trying to keep this all, yeah, under wraps. Okay, so I'm gonna stop putting fire runes into Buster Bang. I'll probably keep it around as a huge damage source against bosses, but when it comes down to it, it's just not this spell is not my style. I guess I'll just say that straight out. I prefer fast. I prefer I mean, massive amounts of damage is nice, but I kind of prefer consistent and predictable, because inconsistent and unpredictable ends up being obnoxious and, I don't know, slows me down, if that makes sense. Really, just the fact that I have to worry so much about hitting with Buster Bang is a serious problem for me. Because if it's not immediately obvious, we're using the... Well, when using the controller, my aim is reduced. Of course, it's not always a problem. It's only a problem for certain runs. So, probably should have thought of that before going in here. Let's see if I can slow these guys down a little bit. The answer is not nearly as much as I'd like to. Let's see if I can hit somebody with the Buster Bang. That was not the somebody I was hoping for. Well, let's reflect a bunch of damage back to people, I guess. This is all kind of piddly and I wouldn't say worthless. I'm not trying to be like a Debbie Downer about things. It's just one of those where it's like my confidence is reduced as a result of just shenanigans going on here. Please hit one of these guys. Okay, so at the very least it took him out. Now, the interesting thing about the ground target is actually it looks like it puts enemies to sleep, interestingly enough. So that's going to have to be some level of useful at some point. I'm just trying to think of how that would be. Again, it fits perfectly with the idea of a ground target build, but not many others. Well, let's just reflect some damage sources for a bit, and stop trying to aim all of our spells. They're pointless. I don't know. Let's just... Ooh, okay, so Buster Bang does actually have, I think, maybe, some amount of AoE. Okay, so we've collected a fair amount of runes at this point. Hey, I could have actually got my hands on Prismatic Devil. What can I make? Runedex. Shock, Water, Fire. Well, I got them, so I guess I'll use my next triple on that. That was a suggestion put forward. If I've forgotten any suggestions, by the way, I'm sorry. It's one of those where it's like in the thick of things, I forget and the list was not exactly forthcoming. I used Buster Bang to bust through some freaking boxes. What is my life? What are things coming to? Because part of the problem is I'm cold and I'm wearing like multiple layers. And I find when I'm wearing like multiple layers in life, it actually ends up making me feel a little itchy. I hate playing games when I'm itchy. Maybe that's why I'm so crabby all of a sudden. It's just like, oh, no. Come on, come on, come on. Come on, come on. Yeah, got him. Got them both, actually. That surprises me more than a little. And there's also a lot of health coming out of all of this. So I think what I'm going to do, first and foremost, let's just make second Chaos Bolt. We need the firepower, and it'll help. Especially because how many projectiles we're firing off. I guess I probably could have actually done double lightning, but at the same time, it doesn't matter that much to me. I kind of like the idea of just being a machine gun and then focusing on my other two spells, which currently probably going to get replaced. By what? I'm not sure. And part of it is I'm kind of holding out because between the double Chaos Bolt, we're pretty solid. It's just a matter of everything else, because, oh, it's a Shrine of Destiny. We all know how much I like these guys. Come on. Oh, nuts. So, turns out, because of double Chaos Bolt, I can't actually use any of my other spells right now. Oh, that's obnoxious. Well, I guess I'll just use that as an excuse to take the ground target at least off of my build, so I don't have to keep getting distracted by the little targeting circle. Because when I'm using a mouse, it's actually like necessary, because that's the only way I know how I'm aiming in a direction. Whereas with the controller, you get this beautiful green line that makes everything better. And honestly, I prefer the green line. It makes it a lot easier to see what I'm doing, what I want to do. So we could do Grizzly Strength, very tempting, or 10% chance on spellcast to release an extra bullet that does 2 damage. So, I think it should be pretty apparent what we want to go with. As much as Grizzly Strength is nice and effective, it's, well, doesn't really hold much of a candle to the ability to just fire off a lot of stuff. Now, I'm actually going to cave here, and I said I wasn't going to do this, and I probably should have done this before, but we're going to go with double lightning, because I get the feeling we are going to just be projectiles abound today. I'm considering if I should go with particle spray or not, because particle spray would pretty much just beast everything, at least in the early levels, and then it would be kind of worthless later on. But it could be, I mean, it could perpetuate everything. Other than that, it would be triple water, maybe. But we do have to worry about even being able to cast anything, because I think global cooldown is supposed to be the thing that's messing it up so we can't cast any other spells. Not entirely sure here, but does present some interesting questions about what I even want to do with the rest of this build. I might see, actually, yeah, no, I can't even use the second Chaos Bolt. I'm trying. So there's no reason for me to cast any other spells, at least for the time being, up until the point where I can replace Double Lightning and Chaos Bolt. And honestly, I kind of enjoy this. Just the fact that I'm firing off so many things at once. It puts us into a position where we can use that, like, 10% chance to fire off a shot. Because that essentially means we're going to be firing off so many projectiles by the end of all of this. I believe the white projectiles are the ones from the perk. The kind of whitish purple ones are the ones that come off of our passive that we start with. And I'm going to be shameless, go with cooldown reduction and Ghost Walk Evasion. All these are not so great. I'm going to do this one just in case. I don't know, extra damage avoidance seems like a good idea. But what we want is a lot of cooldown reduction. Because essentially Oh, I know what we're going to do. We're going to do an enrage build today. I think. Let's see. Nope, it's not bestiary. Runedex, it's a fire. Dark? No. Because enrage was not unstable strength. They're similar, but not the same. So it's not fire dark. So it's fire. I wish they'd made this better. This is awful. Okay. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, you can't hold down on the control stick to scroll down the book. It doesn't work that way, which is, to me, very obnoxious. Okay, so Buster Bang. Nope, 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 nope. Where's... Oh. Is it not a fire spell? Weird. Oh, come on. Okay. It's a triple, and it's a buff that is discovered. So what is it? Enrage. Earth Dark Dark gives us a... Huh. Ah, that's a much shorter duration than I remember. It's a huge damage buff, though. But we can do that and Mindlessness, potentially. Wish is alright. Prismatic Devil is alright. Meditate is decent. The thing is, it has fixed cooldown duration, so you can't affect either of those, which is kind of a shame. Now, I'm not sure what... So spells cannot fizzle. This is a temptation. Because if we could do fire, speed, water, I want to see... Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Fire, speed, water. Combine, we get assurance. Applies a buff that increases bullet speed and bullet duration and makes it so spells can't fizzle. So I'm going to get rid of Cast Bolt. And what we're going to do is turn off this one a little bit. What I want to see is if Assurance will make it so that my Buster Bang will go through an enemy. Because if it does that, then, like, if it can go through enemies and stuff, oh, that would be great. Unfortunately, I'm not sure. At this point, this is just science. So, let's charge that, and then Buster Bang. Nope, okay. Oh, it doesn't do what I think it does. Well, let's turn our shots back on instead of other things. Okay, so I actually have no idea what fizzling means in this situation. I thought fizzling would make it so you'd get, like, strike through or something. But if that's the case, what the heck does fizzle mean? I have never had a spell specifically fail, so it's got to have some kind of actual effect. I'm just not aware of it. Wow. I kind of hope we run into Dash, because I think we're pretty much set up for fighting Dash in the most effective way possible. Now, at this point, I'm actually going to hold onto the Shock Rune that I just picked up. I would love to use it and buff up Double Lightning so it does, like, super crazy awesome damage, but at the same time, I would very much like to actually, you know, deliver on some of the promises that I made about what spells I'd use. So, or what spells I'd make. So, in this case, water, shock, fire, I believe. Yep, shock, water, fire. If I can make that, well, there's at least one down. There's also water, mind, light. I actually stopped paying attention to the game for a second there. I'm kind of surprised we're not dead. Then again, it'd be pretty impressive if we managed to die in that short of a period of time. Later on, that is entirely possible, but right now, nah. So, we could go for a buff build, and it's tempting. The only problem is we're not specifically playing as the character that uses the buffs, but I think I think the buffs would still buff our damage, which is very tempting. Like, when I say our damage, I mean, like, our class abilities damage. So, I could potentially use that just to do a lot of extra damage. Pretend I have a third strike. The only problem is Chaos Bolt itself is kind of weak, especially when see a hit later on, so we'd be gunning to replace that. Double Lightning is a hard one to replace. It's solid from the get-go. Okay, crit chance. Because, hey, if we're firing off little lightning bolts when we crit too, beautiful. Because, well, any amount of extra attacks that we can get out of this is probably going to be the best strategy. And we get a free heart out of all of this right off the bat. Perfect. Oh, looks like there's a necromancer somewhere. I'm just going to turn on that, and... okay, so as far as I can tell, the paladin's ability doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Maybe it has... I don't know, I've never actually been able to figure out what specifically it does. Ooh. Okay, now, I really wish with excess energy it increased the chance on spellcast to release the bolt instead of increasing the damage, but at the same time, I'm okay with that. So, now we've got a bunch of extra attacks going for us, which is cool, especially with how fast we attack. So between the cooldown reduction and the extra shots we should be putting off, it, I don't know, should make us pretty much just a walking salvo. Flame Salvo actually wouldn't be terrible, except for the fact that, you know, Flame Salvo has kind of crippling issues with impediments, which is a problem. Now, okay, I'm trying to think of other spells, or other spells that we could use. I mean, first and foremost, we could actually just go with Prismatic Devil. It's not the greatest, but it wouldn't be bad either. No, it's not going to be great. Reduce the effect. Yeah, reduce the effect of Room Wars. At the very least, is going to make it so we can do some of the later event rooms, potentially, with less stress, duress, and death. Mostly the last part. I like living. I like living a lot. It's kind of nice. Breathing. You always kind of forget how nice breathing feels until you don't, until you can't breathe. And you know what? This is getting pretty dark for like for me. I guess this is what happens when I'm really tired and I'm recording at midnight. I just start getting like weird, cynical, and a little bit I don't know. A little bit introspective, if that makes any sense. I don't know, I've been biking today. Problem is, I haven't been biking a whole lot, and when I moved back in with my parents, for this short period of time, because, well, Western New York has, like, nothing for jobs, at least for my field. Well, we live on top of a very, very steep sort of mountain. Everybody thinks mountains are like, you know, the kind of old white cap things that you see in the distance whenever you're driving. But no, you know, people can live on small mountains. And generally it's not a problem, unless you have to bike up them. Oh, wow. That's a lot of stuff. Also, looks like our inventory is full, so I'm going to have to take that out. So, I think I might actually end up going with Flame Salvo here. Are you ever going to come out of there? One of my eternal fears with burrowers is that they'll just never come back. Okay, so we've got an extra shock rune. Ooh. Okay, so what we're going to do first and foremost is continue with the buff build, because we don't have any dark runes, but we can make mindlessness. So I'm going to pop assurance out of here, because increases bullet speed and bullet duration. It's... I'm trying to figure out what Fizzle does, and I have no idea. Okay, next up. We got water, so we could actually do triple water, double lightning instead of chaos bolt, but at the same time, I'll think about that. Well, we also need the oh, well, that's okay. Goodbye, chaos bolt. We've got Prismatic Devil, and was the last run we did Prismatic Devil too? Yeah, it was. Well, whatever. So, goal is here. Use Prismatic Devil. We're very, very dependent on it. Entropy runes, come to think of it. Oh, well, it doesn't matter that much. So, what we want to do as part of this build is get the 2 more Dark Runes so we can make that buff. Because if we could get Enrage combined with Mindlessness and Prismatic Devil, we'd be a buffed up machine. And yes, I know it's not specifically we're not specifically playing the buff run, but at the same time we've got a lot of projectiles running around us. I'm kind of missing... I'm missing Chaos Bolt, but at the same time, with double lightning in the mix, it doesn't really seem that necessary to me. Because double lightning, very solid contender for, you know, probably one of the best basic attack type spells. Now, as far as what to do with our double combiners, that's a little bit tougher. I'm trying to, well, not double combiners, what to do with our entropy runes. What was I thinking? I know what I'm using my double combiners on. More triples, duh. But there's the kind of question with all of this. Do we want to try and get our bias really high with Prismatic Devil, or do we want to try and get it so our entropy shots are all going off in random directions? Or not... What am I even talking about? My brain just kind of keeps farting on me a little bit here. Would we rather have it so our lightning shoots off in, like, pretty much the smallest arc we can possibly get, or do we prefer it to be random? And I think when it comes down to it, I don't need it to be consistently forward. There's no reason for it. Actually, the wider angle, the better in a lot of cases here, because this way we can just kind of dispatch large groups of enemies, no problem. Okay, after killing enemies, or 50 enemies, gain 2 health permanently. That's probably my favorite perk. Just because, honestly, I like things like that. It's kind of like a secondary EXP system, except for this one, on top of, you know, being able to level into the base perks that you always get, now you actually get extra HP, which you don't normally get. Okay, we've got 2 speed runes, so if we do end up having to deal with Blazia, we're going to be in a very solid position. Also, I just realized I'm not using Mindlessness, and I need to be. Because, well, that really buffs our levels. To the point where it actually kind of makes up for the fact that we don't have a whole lot of entropy runes, and we kind of need them. So, that's actually really good. Let's go fight the boss. Oh, Droploid. I know I fought Droploid before, but I am having trouble remembering exactly what he does. Oh, he splits off into multiple bits, and they get a little bit on the concerning side of things? Maybe not. That's a lot of projectiles. Well, wait. The Paladin maybe is... Nope. Okay, yeah. Paladin, definitely not worth it. I'd rather be the Mummy. I tried doing the reflecting damage sources, and it's just like, nah, they still hit me anyway. Okay, so first and foremost, fire, shock, water. What's this do? It's called Traveler. Shoots a bullet that does more damage the further it goes. Huh. Oh. Okay. There's one problem with the Traveler spell. It's really cool in theory. The problem with it is it's almost a 2-second cooldown, which to most people may seem fairly short, but at the same time, to me right now, not so great. But at the same time, I just said that twice. I can use it as kind of a nice long-range nuke, and considering we are not actually doing, part of the reason why I got rid of Chaos Bolt was purely the fact that I could use my secondary spells if I wanted to, without having to turn on and off the, autocast, which is much easier. Now, one of the other things I was thinking about, and I'm probably not going to bother with it now, but I'll probably do it the next time I try for a quad shot run, is you could actually do a sextus shot run, or I'm trying to exactly... you could shoot 7 attacks at once. What you'd have to do, and it's actually pretty easy, all you'd have to do is map your quote-unquote click spells to the thumbsticks with... Uh-oh. Okay, there we go. So if I'm trying to cast my left bumper, I can't cast Mindlessness. Good to know. Anyway, you bind the click spells to the the thumbsticks, and that just turns them on. You don't have to worry about it ever again. So suddenly you have 4 buttons available, so you could have both bumpers and both triggers available again to have extra shots. So, I'm not sure how I do this. That would probably be left for a... as hilarious as it would be, that would probably be left for a fusion run. Imagine if I was shooting off I'd probably only do quad fusion, maybe pentafusion, because at the very least we'd want something like mindlessness as a buff. Preferably at least more than one, but I don't know. Okay, so we could go with mind levels, earth levels, dark levels, or an entropy rune, all of which, not great. I'm gonna go with mind levels. In retrospect, maybe I should have done the other. Anyway, do we have 2 dark runes? The answer is no. We've got plenty of earth runes, not enough dark runes. And we're actually 1 double combiner away from another triple. But, as always, we're on to level 4, which means it's time to go on to the second part, because I like cutting these episodes up, it makes it a little bit easier for me to render, and gives you guys a nice stopping point if you need it. So, I'll see you guys then, and as always, thanks for watching.